So yeah, we are good to go. So
Okay.
so Arvind, thanks for doing this session. Could you maybe start off with a brief intro about yourself,
Yeah,
and then
everything.
yeah,
I'll do everything. So basically, hello everyone, and thanks for joining. I know that like difficult time and a lot of thoughts around what would happen, how would be things around. So, but then we need to keep the things going on. Like we need to have a lot of learning skills or even think of what our future should be. So one of the reasons that could help is like building communities, one being like remote Indian, which Abhishek is doing, or building a tech community or joining a tech community and leveraging that for your own benefit. So we're going to talk more about that, but first of all, hello and thanks for joining. So I am Aravind, and I work at Elastic as a developer advocate. You can always direct message me here in the remote Indian. I'm available at the same. Sorry, probably just my first name Aravind, and but otherwise, like this is my Twitter handle. You could also like DM me there. That being said, I speak at a lot of conferences. I kind of like speak at meetups, build communities. I've been in this space for like say 5 years or so, and pretty much a lot of global exposure, I should say, definitely, because now that I'm working with a lot of communities in India and Southeast Asia. I mean, like, but I also want to share. A lot of people keep asking me about these questions. More importantly, in remote Indian community as well. So I'm also part of this Kubernetes open source project. I also like be up not very regularly, but of late I keep attending the meetings of the SIG special interest group contributor experience for Kubernetes. So that being said, we'll quickly get into the current topic. So what, as I said, like I keep building these communities. So I kind of launch these sessions for developers. It's definitely not marketing, but it's more of like, an interesting gathering of people who want to learn, share, debate, and do a lot of interesting things. So this could mostly tech. I operate in a tech space, but there are communities for other areas as well. Like someone was pointing out earlier, there are communities for everything. Like say Paytm has a community, Book My Show has a community. So all of these people share. Even like there is a culinary community, I mean, like who shares interesting receipts and doing a lot of food sessions. So that is another community. So basically, the thing that I do is like one to tech. So this is one of the user group photo that we have. This is a Pune user group. Similarly, I also there are many other tech communities or tech groups that I organize, and wherein there are a lot of people who tend to join, and we learn, enjoy for like say 2 or 3 hours every week in person. Of course, I know there is no social distancing in this picture because it's very old, but in the current times it has become very virtual. But then these are the things that help me to connect with people. It's quite interesting to be in a community and do all of this. You get a lot of not praise per se, but also like you will definitely get it, but also you would get a lot of recognition. You will get a lot of people would start asking questions, and you would enjoy debating, talking to people in more interesting way. So basically, if I have to tell you what is a community, if you are new to this word, of course many people are using community, the word, for a lot of things today. I mean, like your user base is also called as community. Well, if I'm thinking that not everything is like a community. When I call as something as a community, it's like people talking to each other like we do in remote Indian. Completely strangers help each other, share knowledge. Say the book club channel is quite interesting, right? So that even is like quite useful for me. And similarly, the tribe or random or work channels, I literally remember all of these channels just in the remote Indian community. But at the same time, there are other communities which help each other. Like say you have a Java user group or Elasticsearch user group, which helps other community members every time some new guy comes. So in a way, if you put it in a business perspective, communities help organizations growth, literally helps organizations growth. So for example, in the organization that I work, it's called Elastic. They have a product called Elasticsearch, and then Elasticsearch is the world's most popular open source search engine. And then the power of that open source system started when many people downloaded it and ingested the data and like started using it for their own businesses, etc., etc. Today, if you see a search bar, probably you might be looking at Elasticsearch. But not just that, people started user groups. People started working about. In fact, like people literally started talking all the good, bad, and ugly practices that are they really don't like some things in Elasticsearch. So they started to create a community around, and if we don't do it, they would do it by themselves, or they would organize parties like launch parties, all of this by themselves. So the community is literally pushing us to do like a lot of these things. So it literally helps, in a way. But also, like as an individual, if I have to tell you, like community is a nice platform to share, learn, and debate, and also most importantly, network. So, but building communities really, really hard. I have to literally tell you, like any community is really hard. It's not just that like tech communities, but tech communities are also really hard. But I'm just telling. So, but most important thing when you're looking about tech community is like there are certain do's and don'ts which I prefer. So I believe that you should think of, if you are building a tech community around that you want to organize, say be it your individual purpose or business purpose. It could be one or two reasons. It could be for an educational reason, it could be for awareness, it could be for goodwill, it could be for your brand awareness. Let's say you as a specific brand, like say Remote Indian or say Abhishek, right? You want to build your own brand, so then it would be a good chance that you could build an amazing community. I don't know whether there's a person named Siraj Rawal. He has built a community around his own personal brand, right? He has a YouTube channel. He is a tech influencer. Of course, there are many controversies nowadays, but generally, that's a fantastic way to like building a community around a personal brand, So that is one good thing in the tech space. Similarly, you have several other people who have built a great community, like say people do reviews. Say you have MKBHD, Marcus Crony, he does a lot of things around that building a community, like asking things. So that helps, it helps you to drive awareness. Someone like Elasticsearch or Google or Facebook or Microsoft, their branding, their goodwill, they sponsor diversity programs. So that is one another way to look at things. At the same time, you also have a lot many people try to build communities for these reasons. The other side of the points that I made, these are don'ts in my view. A lot many communities are primarily geared to do this, the second one. Say like lead generation, sales pitches, data collection. Well, I would probably agree for the last part if there is a reason and if there is something that everyone would get better off. But it should not be the objective of the community to do this. So if you are looking for lead generation, you should be outright like say that, okay, say I want you to be like a lead or a user base for my campaign that I'm going to do in the future days. So that's why I'm doing this event. Say some people do some events to say you think of like audio function, audio release function for a movie that happens prequel to the movie release. They just try to bring up a lot of PR, let people know that this movie is coming in a week. So that is like a lead or a view generation, right? Or a release of teaser. So it is okay if you know that that is coming, but at the same time, it should not be so obvious that you would feel bad about it. So a lot many people also do sales pitches. Say outright say that this is X and that is why I'm talking about it. You need to pay for it, and it might not really create a win-win relationship in a community. So I believe that community is to be an education platform. So these are some of the do's and don'ts. I have a very less, but yeah. So how do I get started? So that is one another thing. So any questions till now? Like, does anyone have any question? You're free to ask. Like, I don't know whether you can unmute yourself or.
Yeah, I think people do have.
Yeah,
Okay, I just selected that option as well. But so far we are good. I think if
yeah.
there
If you
are
have,
questions, we can post them on the chat, and
yeah.
I
So
can.
both
Yeah,
are always like just unmute yourself, ask questions, stop me in between. Completely fine. Let us make it very informal. So basically, like a lot many people ask me that how do I build a community and how do I get started with this thing? So there is no one single way, there is no one single magic wand or a magic sauce or a formula to simply make it happen. Not for anything, but this also like this. Many people might say, okay, go and do this, but that might not result. There are a bunch of things that I follow and which has worked for me over the last, say, at least 3 years. I have made mistakes for the first 2 years, say that. But the last 2, 3 years, I was like pretty successful in engaging users, giving them what they want, etc. Say, suppose you want to build a design community and like a bunch of users like you who are in the design, but you want to become a place for build a place for them to hang out, say a Slack group or something, right? And so that everyone discuss, showcase, right, talk, do a lot of these things. So what happens is many people tend to start on Meetup, and then like they create this meetup and organize a session, try to get a sponsor, or they do it by themselves and like try to get a speaker and do stuff, uh, which might work for the very first time, but like it might not really work for everyone. Like it depends on the need and the popularity of the software. Say now coronavirus is a very popular topic. Now if you do a coronavirus meetup, right, it might many users might come and join just for the sake, like they know that, right, they just want to explore that option and see what you would talk about. But it would easily die down because users are around trendy in nature. They just consuming because it's hot, but they are not really interested in it. So one way that I found out, there's a question from Kaushik, I'll answer that. I'll come to that part actually here. So there is one way that I found is like rather than like going where creating a special new thing for yourself, go to a place where where users already exist, and what you try to do is like try to network with them and find out, say not just exactly the same meetup. So for example, here we are taking about dribble meetup, like which is a design thing, but you could also take something like say if you want to do a specialized design community for healthcare or IoT, or several other things which isn't there and which you think is important. Forget about the pros and cons of having something like that, but you know that there are designers, you know that you want to do it, so you will go and network with them, talk, speak, or even give sessions there, and then slowly you would try to make. So these are called affinity groups, like groups which gel along or take part or has a pie in what you are trying to build, and you're trying to bring users from there. So there are many successful communities for each and everything. Suppose if you Paytm want to build a community, so it might be new for Paytm to build a community, but Paytm already have a million users, not just Paytm, saying like a million or more number of millions of users are already using doing digital payments. So who are their user base? Digital payment. What are the communities for digital payments? Like organize a hackathon on UPI, or organize a hackathon on some specific genre that they want to go and bring people. So that is one way to look at things. That's for a consumer brand. Suppose if you are looking for an enterprise brand, say someone like a HDFC Bank, or somebody, not even HDFC Bank, someone who has more into, like more into like somewhere business point of view, like Google, etc. Right? So you could also go and find out relevant communities to Google. Say for Google search or ads or SEO, let's say search engine optimization communities might be more relevant. Very rarely you would find something pretty new. Say suppose if you're talking about quantum mechanics, or suppose say cryptography, there are very few things that you occasionally might not find relevant communities for, but then now you have problems for everything. So that is where I go. Affinity groups are the way to go. Before you start a group, you just go and like kind of do the stuff. So I'll stop here and I'll also take some questions. So do you go for a particular demographic while building a community? So yes. So I would literally think that, say, start small, and you could think of, say, if you want to build a design meetup, you don't do it in say somewhere like a tier 3 place, like wherein there are less designers. You could definitely start in like somewhere like Bangalore, wherein there are already, or Delhi or Mumbai, and start building it. So go to some colleges, like where colleges are very good places to go and like find out people. So colleges are very good idea, and you start building out that community. So demography is a very good thing, and then you expand that to other cities. So that is a way to go and find out where your core crux is, the core amount of people where they're doing all of this. So that is very important as well. So I just took the example of design, but you can also go and look at other things. It's always helpful to go small, in a very small place, do 10, 20% events, and then you can easily go up to 200. India has that scale, and you get people for everything. So just think about that. Yeah, someone. Okay, there's a question like Abhishek, to figure out who focus on.
Uh, yeah, I
Yes,
just put that as a as a note. As in, like, I feel if if you can answer those two questions, that will give you like some idea of what your demographic could be. As in, like, who are the people you want to get together, and why are you getting these people together?
yeah.
Those,
So it's also like the purpose, like in the second one, which Abhishek mentioned, like why are we coming together? So it makes it very appropriate, like it it gives you a lot of answers to a question, right? So there is one more question I didn't understand, like from Sridhar. So say, what is your community name and where is it from? I
yeah. Sridhar, could you just elaborate on that? You can unmute yourself. And,
Yeah. Anyway, you can write in the chat and we'll definitely answer that. So going on with the same example, so that is why affinity groups are important. So there are some important things along with starting a group. Like someone was pointing out, along with the location, there are things like if you want to build a successful community, perfect thing you need to have is a consistency. So if I have built, if you want to build a Java community or some programming language or some genre, like some category of community, then I need to be regular. See how Abhishek was trying to organize these Zoom meetings every week without fail, made me think that, okay, I should definitely join and at least see, because I'm not able to do it all the time. I should definitely find time to kind of like do this thing. Right? It really helps, and like it kind of helps you a lot. So consistency is the key. That helps you maintain another thing which is called engagement. Right? All these are big terms if you think so, but these are really important. So you need to make sure that you definitely do it. When you are talking about consistency, then you need to talk or think about, see, what is the date and time that works for most of the community. More importantly, like especially in in-person events, this is a virtual event, like wherein we are setting it from home. In the events which I do or which I participate in, there are three major things, like whether there are holidays, long weekends, tough days wherein people can't commute because of the rain, weather, many factors. So date and time is very important. You need to think of it. We used to do, I remember 2 years back, I think, there were like we used to do meetups at Saturday morning 9:30, and trust me, people only turn up at 10:30, 10:45, somewhere around. Then we realized, like, okay, 9:30 might be so like harsh on people when they had Friday night party, and really difficult. So what we did is we moved meetups to like 11 o'clock or 11:30, and slowly we started seeing people coming on time. Another thing is, like, we started without delaying whatever the speaker we have, we kind of like join those, we immediately like start the meetups. 10:30 means sharp 10:30, like how the meetup started, the current meeting. So that helps, like, okay, it's gonna start, so people make time, that definitely join. So that's one other thing which is very rare in India. It's getting there. I don't want to make a bad comment, but time maintenance is very important. I believe like it's very important, like should be done. So date and time is a prime thing. Then comes the venue. It might not be a big thing for a lot of you if you are from a different city, unlike Bangalore. But if you are thinking about like city like Bangalore, venues are very important. I don't know how many of you are from Bangalore, but Bangalore city is a bit bigger. And then if you do events in the northern side of the Bangalore, you might not get a lot of people uh, due to various reasons. Even though there is a tech and people still live, but many people who are regular visitors might not come. But at the same time, similarly in Delhi, if you are doing an event in Gurgaon, you might not get more audience from Noida. Obviously, right? Noida and Gurgaon are like way apart. Or if you're doing in central Delhi, you might not get people from like other parts, depending on the location. So venue is a very important thing, and think how big it is. Suppose I have done a meetup in a large facility in an IT park, and then I'll say Reliance. I have done in Mumbai Reliance, and hardly there were any outsiders, like say 10 people, because it's really tough getting to Reliance in Ghansoli in Mumbai, and then coming to like their office, come into that, and like do all of this. Very very difficult, so that is one of the thing. Venue is very important thing. Make sure that you want more people to come, more interesting stuff to happen, then you do it. Last thing which I would regularly talk from this slide, I believe, is like speakers and content. So you need to be like really really good in bringing right speakers. I have to say this, which I feel really bad. In India, there is a bit of, there's a very good chance that there's a bit of people asking that foreign speakers. There's a bit of that. But if you provide good content, if you have decent speakers who don't slog and like who try to like deliver things crisp manner faster with a very good visual stuff, good enough. It will work things like it will work things very good. So these are the three things. Remember when you want to do meetup, and only think about these when you're building a community. Work with affinity group and also do these things. So these help you a lot means a lot. So some other important things like which don't fit in any filter is like um, tech techies love generally good content. Like something should be logical, no slogging, very important. Then bring in influencers. If you have, suppose, say that somebody is visiting the city, say some good person from some other place is visiting the city for some conference. Generally, it happens that there are conferences, tech conferences, and there are keynote speakers who are coming from it. Just try to invite them. It would add a lot of value to your community, to bring a lot of things. This happens like even product managers, CEOs, CTOs. You can keep doing this. At least do once in a while event with a great influencer, so that what happens is like your community get good name, and like you will also start building out great relationships with everyone in the entire ecosystem. So added to that, like sometimes I feel like I get more people if I do an event in Google Office or our office or some other office, because people tend to like come and see offices. That thing is also there. We have done one event in Expedia in Delhi. We have done one event in different companies. Like people tend to show up. Microsoft, we have done one. So more people might show up. So just because to see that office and also experience and learn good content. So that is one other thing to look at. So I want to just close this key takeaways from the community building. If you want to build something, so I believe that engagement is the key, and more importantly, sometimes less is more. That in order to give more stuff, do 1 or 1.5 session, let's say 1.5 hour session, with all these things into consideration, you will be like building a great community, and like people would love come say that, okay, I want this, can we build this? I want that, can we build this? So you will do that. And very important in this entire thing, community is not what you share in monologue, like I keep talking and you listen. No, you should always have free dialogue. So that really helps. So that is one other thing to look at, like so wherein people should be given chance to talk to each other. So that is very important. So I have this one last slide about building a personal brand. So when talking about building a personal brand, a lot many people, again, it's not about asking questions, but in remote Indian community, I have researched how do you become a developer advocate? How do I get started in this area? Or there are friends who want to, like, after I've been traveling to at least 10 countries every year, they got like, okay, Aravind, I want to get into this travel job. How do I get into it? So there is a lot of effort that I tend to do, and I tend to keep. So some of the things that I would like to definitely tell you is building a personal brand is more difficult than building any other stuff. Say you need to have good content, like you need to have own a blog, maintain social media presence, do community work with each and every community, don't lose out the touch. Then you will also need to go and network with each and everyone. If you are like an introvert, you need to try to get rid of it. I would really tell you this: you can't be like you have to be a people's person, people front. You are on the front, and you need to be very careful about what you speak as well. Once you become trying to do that, so it should be very important. You should have that in your mind. Then there are many do's and don'ts that I think, like you should always find where your audience are. Suppose, say, if you want to become a popular React.js developer, React.js community oriented person, then you need to find where your JavaScript developers are. Say it's a blog, go to dev.to, or if it's or CodePen or something like some site, try doing more there and contribute to the community, speak in the places. You will get also maintain the relevance of the content. So today you can't say this technology, tomorrow you can't completely go to the opposite end and say like that is better. So you need to think of before doing a lot of these. So tech people or the people in the tech industry, they observe you a lot, and then it's a very good chances. So I want to write don'ts, but I want to completely like stop giving you more like unneeded stuff also myself. So I want to tell you that I have seen some people who are pretty good at what they do, but also like doing unnecessary things, like say once you have social media presence, and especially on places like Twitter, etc., there's a good chance that there are people, friends, you might have a political interest in talking about some things. And then what happens is once you make a comment, and more importantly, it might explode in a way that you don't want it to be. So so try not to be that. Try not to go into that controversial topics where many people try to engage in that sort of trolling and stuff like that. So I mean, say other people, you don't try to be one of them. You try to make a sane argument. Like one of my friends says, focus on science and rise above, don't talk about things like that. So depends, but yeah, just a healthy caution. And also, like, and people love them, a lot many people like come on, and you want to see and consume content like that. So they are watching you, so you want to serve your users. You are the product, and you are not giving out product. You are the product, you are the brand. So be sure about it. And then also you have opinionating and bias, by having bias. So suppose somebody says that your opinion is wrong, I generally tend to agree, well, that is right. I try to put up facts. If the other person is not saying, it's okay, it's fine. That's how you need to like be take and like take leave. It's fine. At the same time, you also have bias. Suppose I work for a company and I have a bias towards products. But if somebody says that there is a specific feature that is not working well in the product that I work for, like say, then I would definitely accept. So there is a bias thing. So make sure that you building a personal tech brand, that also helps. So think of all of this. So this is this also won't happen in a week or 2 weeks or a month or 6 months even. Sometimes it may take long. For example, it took like at least like 2 years for me to get accepted in some conferences wherein they consider it to be prestigious to invite a specific speaker. So it happens, right? It really happens. So think about that. Make it more educational, less salesy. The moment you give out a link and ask people to do that, uh, many would like discard. So unless there is a value in it, right? If there is a credit and there is a educational thing that they would get out doing that, and it would be advantageous. Otherwise, like doing pure this thing would never help. So think of that as well. So that being said, I would end, and I want to take questions. Like I said, I know that I said less slides, but it took 35 minutes. So are there any questions?
So Arvind, I think we like whatever we covered. This was pretty useful. So I just want to maybe zoom out a little and maybe think about, like you spoke a lot about events and how events are useful in building your personal brand or building your community, right?
Correct.
Are there any other pillars as well which let's say which are useful in let's say creating engagement? Like if I understand events are one way, but are there any other ways that you look at when you know
So see, it depends on what sort of community that you want to build. Say, suppose if you are thinking of building a community of remote workers, then events I don't know, but people look for content, right? Solving problems. Say, my interest of joining remote Indian community is to find out myself about how people are dealing with various things. Like, say, how do I get a standing desk? Or what are the best ways to get standing desk, like what are the good content to manage time, like how do I manage time, and and you can take a specific topic and make a event or a Zoom call like this. That is a very good thing to do. That is the event itself. So event for me is like not per se in person, but also something of this sort. What I don't think that would form a community is like a marketing campaign per se. Like say that if you do a campaign and like say like you collect a lot of people, try to make a group, it might not help. But events to me is like could be in person, could be something knowledge sharing sessions, anything that solves problems for the users. So I think that should help.
I have another question, which is
Yeah, I come on.
yeah, I
Yeah,
think
so
let's put you in the spot a little, as in, you know, like you have the leverage of Elastic, right? Elastic is a well-known product, and you have a lot of resources to help you, let's say, build a community, engage the community, do events, things like that. But for a lot of people in the community, like who are part of this call, they might not have the time, they might not have the resources to like fully fledged, like jump into it with both feet. So how do you get your first 10, let's say, members? How do you start off building a community where resources are a little bit on the lower side? You're very limited by time and money.
great. So I wanted to be you to be more specific. I understand your question, but you tell me an example where. So where you want to. So if you want to get first 10 members, who are those 10 members you want to be? Are they techies for some specific reason or some other reason? What is that? Who are those 10 members?
I think we can like take any example. We can take remote Indian as an example. Let's say.
Okay. So
Yeah.
so
So as in, how do you figure out? Okay, you don't you look have a look at some Facebook groups, you have a look at some Reddits, you see that there is not a lot of conversations going on related to remote work, and you're focusing on a particular demographic, which is India. How do you kind of kickstart, like how do you start the fire, if that makes sense?
So if say generally if you are somewhere like me, 5 years before I'm a nobody. Like I just came into Bangalore, started attending meetups and I like it and I jumped into it. But if you are I'm like me, if you are fresh and you just want to get things started and you want to build things, likewise I said go to the affinity groups.
Okay.
If you are the open communities, like say tech communities, something similar to Meetup, and want to build say remote Indian can have a Meetup group online, let people know via Meetup. Because see, what I'm trying to explain here is, even though you said Elastic has a leverage, yes, but what is that? People use Elasticsearch. It's an open source product. It's a freely available thing. There's a channel. So the channel is established. And after the traction, we started doing meetup groups, like community groups for each region, right? And we tackle around problems for the each region. We build up a strategy and do it. This is the flow. So suppose if I want to do, so I forget that Elastic is not there and Aravind is there. I want to do it. What I would go and reach out is, probably if I want to be a tech influencer, I would start doing live streams on YouTube. Why live stream on YouTube? Because YouTube gives me leverage to, it always pushes events. Suppose say somebody is searching for say a technology like Java
Right.
or React.js. YouTube has an relevancy algorithms, and it will try to push out that content, and it will maintain and develop over a period of time. You should keep this consistent content flow regularly, and it automatically pushes you out. Similarly, Meetup has a similar thing. Meetup shows relevant communities in the notification, pushes as a notification to your mobiles, and also like put it on your website, like how Remote Indian has Slack group as a title. You can put it as a website. So that is where you can get. So already go to the places where users are and try to build it from there. Already go to the places where people help you to do that, rather than trying. A lot many people, what they do, they build a community and try to look at ads or campaigns to let people know that this has started. While what that is a difficult and more expensive thing to do. Naturally, what you should do is you should try to go and create events in a place where there are already people who are looking for something similar. I have seen companies like Hotstar, where they want to hire people, and then they did an event with Kafka, Apache Kafka group. It's a streaming
Yeah.
open source. And then they got like around 10-20 resumes, and it was like a very nice way to crowdsource your resumes from community, but also leveraging and saying that Hotstar supports open source, right? Wherein if they have to go and find out a person, they need to spend a lot of money in finding out the right guy, filter out the resume. It might take time, right?
Right.
Wherein they can find out somebody who is working in, say, LinkedIn or some other good company, or other streaming software companies like this. So go to the place where the users are. It's a generic problem, and and you can solve both ways. That is another way that somebody else can do. This is another way. I have seen people building 300K subscriber count from just doing what we have done here. Like what we have done here in the, like a screen share, record the meeting. They have done live stream like that over a period of time. They keep doing that same stuff, not even with video, not even with any good thing, simple PPTs. They have built a user base of around like 300K subscribers.
Nice.
So
Yeah. So I think I will just maybe quickly share like things which have worked for me.
I'll
Yeah.
just take questions
Barbad's
from here.
question. Yeah.
Yeah. So I just want to take some questions and we'll definitely discuss it. This is very interesting. So someone, Sridhar was asking like what communities you lead. I lead Elasticsearch groups. You can go to community.elastic.co where you find all the groups. So I lead the APAC region groups. And of course, like anything you can ask in the globally, but mostly APAC side. I live in Bangalore, but just like everyone, there is no location. Perfectly, I don't have location. I don't live in Bangalore most of the time. I keep roaming, but now there are no flights taking off. In the last 2 years, this is the longest time that I have stayed at home. So continuously. So this is one thing. And then, yeah, you have answered a lot of questions actually. Then we have one from Parbhat. Do community members contribute code to Elastic? Just curious how much contribution. So yeah, okay. This another thing. This is one other thing is like a popular misconception in the open source world or the tech community. Like say, if you want to start, very good question actually. If you want to start a community and you have an idea, you can, or if you want to build a community around the open source project that you want to build, you will build and put it on GitHub, and people will look into it, contribute fixes, and then do stuff. This looks really great, but ideally in the real world it might not exactly work that way. So a lot of contributors that we have around 600 or 800 strong engineering team in around like 40 plus countries. Everyone works from their home, etc. So basically a lot of people who contribute to code or even documentation, everything are from Elastic employees. The share is more, but then there is a lot of people who write blogs, who use Elastic and write their experiences. For the matter of fact, every day Elasticsearch gets downloaded to like 10-20,000 times, and all of these are unique IPs. And then Elasticsearch was like downloaded 1 billion unique IPs have downloaded Elasticsearch. So like a very popular open source project. and many people raise issues, different stuff. It's not just code, it's more than that. So if you are looking at building a community around coding thing as well, so this is something to also look at, right? I'm just trying to put that into fact. So not everything comes from, it's very rare. Even if you say see come something like Kubernetes, a lot of organizations fund CNCF, the Cloud Native Computing Foundation, which heads the Kubernetes project. And people like VMware, Microsoft, Google, they literally put employees to work for Kubernetes only. That somebody is paying the salary. So think of it. Yeah. You were asking something. Yeah.
No, I think it would be, like I was going to share my experience of starting remote Indian. Like, how did I get my first? Because it's difficult to build that critical mass before, like, then like the community starts engaging with each other. Like there is like a critical mass that needs to be reached. And some of the ideas that have worked for me is curation, as in, like, obviously there's a lot of content around remote work. There's a lot of informational stuff which are being shared on Twitter and things like that. So one of the things that worked out for me, which was a little bit low cost, as in, like, I did not have to create my own content. I could simply filter out the articles which I felt were useful, or I could filter out the products that I was using, or things that, and that essentially like added some value. And that was like helpful in kind of getting my first 100 people, the first 150 people. I think that's something which might be useful for some of these, like, if you want to, let's say, be a JavaScript influencer or things like that. I think a newsletter could be, like, it's not technically a community, but at least that kind of kickstarts. Any thoughts on that, Arvind? Elastic, I'm sure, runs a newsletter as well, right? Elasticsearch. Are
Yeah,
you?
we do run multiple newsletters. There's a newsletter run by a community community member, because he thinks that we are doing less and he wants to put all the links, and it's like a links paradise. So, but that is also there. A ton of things people are doing. So we started a Slack group very recently, like 4 months ago, I believe. It's already 1,800 people. So and I'm really struggling. I'm the admin of that group, and I'm really struggling hard to keep up, and to keep up with content, keep up with interesting stuff. Yeah, it's really difficult, I mean, running a community or making sure that code of conduct is available. So I didn't speak about that actually. It's very important to have a code of conduct, ensuring it's like a safe place to discuss. A lot many people DM each other. Like in remote Indian, it's a very flamboyant community. I keep saying this, but there are many communities where people abuse each other. So
Yeah, yeah.
people do ugly emoji reactions, which might not be right way to do in a public space. So think of it. Think of having a code of conduct, a rule set, so that what you expect, how you expect people to behave. It's very important.
So I have one more question, as in, like, what is your opinion between, let's say, online versus offline? I think we missed that part. As in, do you think the future? Like, obviously, right now a lot of people are doing a lot of things online, but let's say once the coronavirus thing finishes, you have done a lot of offline events, right? You certainly do believe. I imagine you believe that if people see face to face, I think that's a different interaction. So any thoughts that you would like to share on that?
So 6 months ago, we were in a strategy meeting, and we were thinking. And one thing that India exactly fits into this thing. I have this thought, like going offline, frankly, online. I mean, sorry, going online from offline meetups, because India is so big that I end up traveling 25 days in a month. So I don't stay even Saturdays sometimes at home. So it's getting really difficult for me to travel. And also events are so many that weekdays I do some conferences, customer meetings, and in 1 month I was not at home. So and I'm married. So, full disclosure. So that way, it gets really, really tricky and difficult for you to run your life and also keep some space for a lot of interesting things, right? Other than just work. So we thought of going offline, and we realized that there are a lot of people in India who are okay to come and ask questions offline. I mean, like online. So the the Zoom calls or webinars or whatever we do, it I don't think it's a replacement for your online. I mean, the events that are gonna happen in person in real life. It should definitely happen. It should continue, but in terms of scalability, say you can't. I have seen meetups around like 300 people. I started locking down meetups for like 250 RSVPs, etc. But I have organized meetups in Bangalore where there are 300 people, and that gets really difficult over a period of time. Everyone will not be able to talk. Everyone will not
Right.
be able to ask questions. So the small, tightly knit community thing will go off. It becomes a large, massive thing. But at the same time, online spaces helps you to do doing that. Yeah, exactly. See, someone Parvat was saying tech communities in tier 3 cities. I'm able to reach someone in place like Bilai or Jamshedpur or say Vadodara, like Surat, where I can't travel very regularly to there, but I can definitely reach out. So that is a very important and useful thing out of this. I spoke at a New York conference this Wednesday, this Thursday morning at 6 o'clock. I woke up from my bed and like joined the meeting just like this, and like I spoke at a New York conference, and I felt really good. But at the same time, I don't say that okay, let us stop all the in-person events.
Right.
It really doesn't help. We should interact, we should network, we should discuss, but there are limits to it. Um, the idea is to me, if I'm doing a meetup, and meetup group is like 3,000 people. Our Bangalore chapter has 3,000 people. So if I'm looking at 3,000 people, and then say that if I do a meetup, say only 300 or 150 could come, and I could give links to them so that they could follow on, do that workshop by themselves, do that training, do that, take the slides, and do it. And tomorrow, if I want to continue that online, they should be able to pick it up from there, and they should be. So you should try to help. Meetups are not one point solution. At the same time, like meetups should not be stopped. So it should continue to happen. But I believe it will change a lot. A lot many companies would start doing more of these stuff like
Yeah,
online.
but I still feel, like, I think empathy. If you want to build empathy with people, it's always better when you meet them face to face. I think it's very difficult to do that in a virtual setting, and that's one of the challenges which I feel, like running an online community. I think somewhere down the future, I guess physical space needs to be, created. But anyways, that's a different topic. Any other questions, guys? I think we are kind of finishing up on time. Ashish, any questions on building a personal brand? I remember you asking some questions about, so if you have any specific questions that you'd like to shoot.
Hmm. So I saw one question from Sridhar. So Sridhar, I'll talk to you. I'll ping you. I'll message you on the Slack. I'll DM you. And Ashish has some question. What all things a DevRel has to do? Oh, a lot of things. You can say everything under your company or you are like literally the brand. So if I work for Elastic, I own the Elastic logo. I own the brand. So I can't be someone like say I can't take a pie on it, except if you're working for a very big company like Microsoft or Google. Then you will get your task cut exactly in a DevRel position. Say you are responsible for Android, and again Android itself is so big. Then you say Android apps, Android native development, different things. So different APIs, I meant to say. So in Elastic, I'm the only guy for India and Southeast Asia advocate. So what I do is like you are like a CTO. What does a CTO does? He sits along, try to help with architecture with the people who are using the products. he does evangelizing the product, like telling what is the new things to do, driving vision, helping people motivate, write content, do everything. So it's more than what CTO do. It's an amalgam of a role from an architect, chief technology officer, say someone who helps market the product, and also somebody who is like a tech writer, right? So it gathers for everything: vision, product part. Suppose somebody says that, hey, I want this feature and I feel this is terrible, is there a way to get better? Then I say that, oh, that is going to come, if you know the roadmap, which a PM would know. So you need to keep up with the roadmap. So a developer has to wear multiple hats, has to, ideally. In some cases they might not, they might be doing content only, like writing docs and writing workshops, writing interesting stuff, doing, exploring new areas. So a good point to start is going and doing public speaking and writing content. It's a very good part to do. Have a personal blog, go to meetups, give a talk, put it on your blog, share it on Twitter. So this is a very good cycle. If you do it for a year, you will end up somewhere in a very good position if you want to start. But don't join as a so there's a companies, I want to put a healthy word of caution here again. A lot many people try to look at develop like a marketing thing or a salesy thing, which I don't think it should be looked like that. Assign you targets for revenue will not happen. I mean, developers are not friendly with that. So just think of that as well. Any other question? Yes, brand is a double-edged sword. So how do you manage that kind of attention? Not very good, actually. So exactly, you tend to become a brand, and it's a real double-edged sword. You know what happens is, suppose I have a, say, I'll really be specific. I have an opinion about Indian government and try to make a word about it. It falls on Elastic also, and Elastic might be doing a business with Indian government, and it might fall back onto the thing. Instead, I would lose the job. So that doesn't mean that you don't have a personal thing, but it's as good as you being a Shah Rukh Khan making uh, not a comment that is not appropriate or not, it can be twisted, right, by somebody else. So it's very important that you need to, that's why I said, like, don't do unnecessary things, do things which are sane. Suppose something is wrong with that, you have an opinion with how things are being treated in a open world, and then you want to make a comment, make sure that it is in a structured manner, easier manner, because you are also holding a lot of weight on your brand. And I have seen people maintaining different account for doing all of that and not merging, or people do a lot of stuff on Facebook, they don't show it on the Twitter. So it's really a double-edged sword, and I would definitely recommend nobody to get into, it's very easy to maintain like tight lip and try to not forecast or do something of that sort. And it's also good for your personal luck as well, and everything will get settled. And you will also learn over a period of time why many people wouldn't talk about many controversial things, just because it will destroy the purpose of the good thing that you are trying to do. They might have opinions in person, but they will not talk. So that is one another reason.
Yeah. You can always, like, if you are worried about, let's say, your privacy or things like that, I think you can always use a pseudonym. Like, you can use that to, let's say, put out content and things like that, and then your personal Twitter handle becomes your, let's say, you can comment about other things. But again, it's a thin line. It's like,
Line to walk. And Abhishek told that, but I personally will not prefer doing that as well. um, you can do it, but the problem is like, if somebody finds out, and like it would be a problem, and in a larger context, it's very difficult also to do that, all of that, to manage that. What I would say is, like, until your comment is sane, say I have made also some comments and things like that, which are against to what my company personally believes. My company thinks that it's also about how your company thinks and how the community thinks. So you have garnered a 1,000 people community, and they are all people who are in Java space, and it's not some other political party or other user group, but it's just a Java space. And suddenly you start talking about politics, and you're taking a side for one movie and saying like, okay, Salman Khan is cute, and I don't approve Shah Rukh Khan or Amir Khan. And then the people who are divided again, they'll start breaking off, start trying to comment and unfollow you or do a lot of these things. So how do you mention that? You try to do things which are balanced in nature. It's thin line, like Abhishek exactly said. It's a very thin line to walk, and you should make sensible, and you should try to maintain that in your mind that you would never try to do that sort of stuff. Yeah, that's why it's really difficult to maintain it like that. Great.
Cool. I think we are. I think Ashish has one more question. I think we'll just take that as the last one. Arvind, are you?
Okay, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm good. Okay. So, any comments on running topic-focused community versus umbrella sort of company community? So, see, for example, Elastic has Elasticsearch product. Elastic also has other products which is called Elastic Stack. The group that we have is like Elastic user group (EUG) or Elastic Stack user group. Until it is relevant and educative, it's fine. But once it becomes more salesy, people tend to don't like it. So whenever you're creating a company community, you also think of what value it adds. It's all about value. Whatever you do, you might keep a very, very vague name, but still you do good stuff. Doesn't matter. It will work. I have seen companies with, say, I'll tell you this name, Division Zero. What do you think of this community name? Division Zero. So you might not get what is it. It's like a movie name or something, right? So Division Zero is an infosec community, and they do amazing work, and they have a very good reputation in Singapore. But because of the way that they structure their stuff, they're very successful at it. Like Grab Taxi has a community in Singapore, and Gojek has a big community. Gojek does Gojek Tech, if you want to look at, and it's a company community under which they run all of these meetups, different topics. Yeah, Gojek really does good. Gojek Tech, right? So yeah, I'm happy to take questions on the Slack as well, so you can definitely DM me. This is for like
Yeah. Gojek does podcasts as well, so that's something another like like
Hmm.
I think
It's like branding. It's like a branding. So how do developer feel cool about it? So they start doing all developer stuff. So you like it, and you keep up joining it at some point of time. That's what they were trying to create. You know.
cool. So I think we are
Great.
finishing up on time. So